Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneurial grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your hosts.
Welcome to Season 3 of the Do Good X podcast. My name is Stephen Lewis, and I am a catalyst for positive change for communities and business. And for over 2 decades, I have inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to the well-being. And I'm joined by my esteemed co-host and colleague, Kimberly Danielle. Hey, Kimberly.
Hey, Stephen, so kind, so kind. And welcome to you all who are tuning in. I am Kimberly Danielle, and I am a community builder, a coach, and a communication strategist who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive each one of us to contribute to the common good. We are excited to have you here for season 3. If you have been journeying with us over the past 2 seasons, thank you. And we look forward to giving you even more this season than previous seasons. If this is your first episode, welcome to you. We are so glad that you found us. We are so glad that you are here. Now, this season is going to be a bit different than our previous seasons if you've been sticking around for quite some time. We will be journeying with you from an actual business idea that you have to really building that business that does good. And we'll do that over the arc of many episodes to come in this season. So this is for aspiring entrepreneurs, those of you who may be in the early stages of your business and really trying to get it up off the ground. But it's also for those of you who have even been in the game for a while and you just want to do some fine tuning. You really need to go back and think about the different aspects of your business that we might talk about and just do some fine tuning, some refining, maybe even some pivoting to really strengthen your business and make it even better for the next phase. So we will share content that will help you feel more confident in your business. We will provide you with some practical things that you can do as you are listening, or if you're driving as you're listening, of course you can go back to it when you have a moment, but you can still be reflecting when you drive. And we just really want this to give you something that you can apply in the moment to your business as you move forward, because we want this to be helpful. We want it to be practical. We want it to be useful. We don't just want it to be a podcast you listen to. We want it to be something that you can apply to your actual business and to your life. Stephen, as you're looking at me, what? And you are so engaged.
No, I mean those are all really good points, and I'm really excited for this season because, at Do Good X, as entrepreneurs and people of faith, it's important to create time to center and to tune in to gain clarity about ourselves and the way forward as it relates to building our businesses. So some of our most popular episodes have been about how to create care for yourself and to attend to your well-being. So some of our most popular episodes have been about how we care for your well-being. And that's particularly important for us because at Do Good X, we believe that you are your greatest asset, and the ways in which you attend to your own well-being and self-care are important for the longevity of you and your business. So some episodes, we will also guide you through steps to build your business, and others will create the moment that for you to just simply to be still and to be present and to be aware of the way in which life is moving through you and the ways in which life calls you to attend to your business and all the other things that are vying for your attention. Those are moments of stillness help us to get clear about how to use our time and our energy the best way forward.
So, yes, this is a season where you'll get those practical applications to your business, but also the intentional space, as Stephen said, to tune in, to gain that clarity that you need, because it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind, but those moments of peace and presence are so important so that we move forward and more intentionally and with more vision and focus for what we are called to create through our businesses. So, really in this episode, not only did we want to talk about what you can expect over the season, but we're going to go ahead and dive in and get started. And the first the first thing that is really important for us to focus on is what Stephen mentioned, which is you as the MVP, the most valuable player as it pertains to your business. In this time that we are living in right now, there's so much going on, from the economic landscape, from the political landscape, from what's happening in technology and pushing us to rethink the ways that we're engaging with technology in our business and our lives, to how we're caring for ourselves, our family, our friends, our neighbors, given what is going on, and how we care for the environment, given the constant changes and the natural disasters that are happening. There's so much. It's very layered. It's so much. And it just underscores the importance of us taking care of ourselves. Because if you are not well, your business will not be well either. One person that we've mentioned before in previous podcast episodes that we tend to go back to is Kathryn Finney, and she's an investor, she's a founder, she's an author. One of the things that she mentions in her book, and I'm just going to read this quote, it just underscores the importance of what we do, how we can be intentional about focusing on building up ourselves and having what we need. And she says, not everyone can be or should be an entrepreneur. You could even say that choosing to be an entrepreneur is an exercise in bad judgment. Most new companies fail. Entrepreneurship is an extremely lonely endeavor, and it involves a great deal of risk, both personal and financial. Taking time to get yourself in a good place is she says, the single most important thing you can do to ensure the success of your company before you build it. So you may be tuning in and maybe you haven't built something yet. And this is that perfect moment, as Kathryn Finney says, to focus on yourself first. And if you're already in the thrust of building, that moment is still so valuable. So we're just going to briefly talk about what we find at Do Get X as 4 key foundations that we believe every social entrepreneur, especially those of us who are faith-based, what we need to really build a business and to build up ourselves to navigate, create, and continue to advance the business that we are called to push forward. And so, I want to hand it over to Stephen to kind of get us started to think about what these 4 foundations might be.
So the first 2 foundations that I want to speak about is the first one being mindset. Now, mindset is the set of beliefs that shape how you view yourself and the world. And sometimes we have to, I think, create better mindsets and also self affirmations about how we understand ourselves, our agency, and our ability to create and shape the world that we long for and the businesses that can help create a world that is much better than the one that we've inherited, not just for ourselves, but for others and for future generations. So mindset is really critical and important. It is the foundation in everything that you do about What do you think about yourself? What do you think about your business? What do you think about your capacity, your gifts to actually create the kind of the businesses that you want to see in the world? And hopefully that will contribute to a better world as a whole. And then the second mindset is gifts. And part of this is about really asking the question of what are you, what are your gifts, but more importantly, they are your superpower and what makes you unique and hopefully have a positive impact on others. So what is it that you specifically contribute and bring through this endeavor? You as an individual, long before your business, and then how does your business be inculcated with that kind of superpower and have a unique contribution in the world? So thinking about your mindset and thinking about your gifts are two foundational building blocks as you start this entrepreneurial journey.
I see this really as a self-inventory, self-inventory and reflection. Um, because thinking deeply about mindset, I'm curious as you're listening in, if you think about how you navigate your choices, your decisions, how you speak to yourself in moments of pressure or challenge, or even in moments of success, how are you speaking to yourself? I often find that entrepreneurs say that they are getting in their own way. And that is mostly in the way that they're thinking, their perspective, or their conversations they're having with themselves. And so it's just so important, like you said, Stephen, and even with the gifts, if you have a challenge identifying your own gifts, which I would say every one of us can at least identify one gift or superpower we feel we strongly bring to the world and we've been blessed with. But if you're challenged with identifying that and reflecting on that, be in conversation with some of the people that are closest to you in your life, and they can give you some insight because they see you. They really see you. And so, this is just really, like I said, it comes to me as a self inventory. The third foundation that I want to lift up is resiliency and faith practices. Whatever that might look like for you, these are the practices that you integrate into your life to really help to ground you and help you bounce back from challenge, disappointment, failure, and really just in general sustain you across the table, through whatever life may bring. As we know, and as we mentioned, entrepreneurship can be challenging and it's quite different than your 9 to 5. It's going to bring you a different set of opportunities to learn, a different set of growth opportunities. So, we need resiliency practices, we need faith practices to come to, and they don't have to be something that's elaborate. It can be most powerful if it's something simple. But what's most important is that you're consistent in it. That these aren't necessarily just practices that you go to when something comes up, when you hit a wall. But these are practices that you consistently do because it builds your resiliency, it builds your faith, it builds your strength through the journey. And, it's the difference between reactive practices versus proactive practices. So, which one will you choose to best support you on your journey? And, faith really can give us a frame for failure and looking at these less as failure, but more as experiences that give us wisdom. And I've mentioned that on other podcast episodes that we've done. And it's not necessarily using this as a opportunity to be resilient and bounce back to where we were. It's really about these practices helping us to move forward in the ways that we're called to, because we're different now today than we previously were. You are going to go through seasons. You are going to experience so much on the journey of life and on the journey of entrepreneurship. And these practices that you develop can really support you. Just, kind of honing down and making this more, I guess, practical. You could think about what you use on a daily basis, weekly, or at seasonally, which that could be quarterly. Daily, you can look at it as what keeps you grounded on a regular basis. Weekly, what helps you to reset? And then on a seasonal basis, how can you look back and kind of reflect and refine for what it is that you do moving forward? So for me, to give you an example, my daily is meditation and prayer and journaling and movement in my body. Weekly, I'm intentional about connecting with a friend and having honest conversations. Seasonally, I reflect on my why, my wins, and ways to grow. And so, if you want to have this as a more practical way of looking for it, just giving you an example of how I might approach it. The last foundation for us that is really important is about community. You won't be surprised by that if you've been sticking around for a while. This is your people, your community of support. It's so necessary now. And what we often hear from entrepreneurs is the primary need that they have is the sense of community and belonging, being seen, being heard, being in conversation with people who get the journey or get them or will listen and have a sense of empathy and understanding. And that's why this is so important for our journey. Isolation is, entrepreneurship, especially if you're underestimated, it can be so isolating. And so community is what can support us, what can propel us forward, what can help us to come back from challenging seasons. And it's not about just emotional support. Community is an asset, it's a resource, it's about access, it's about honest perspective and feedback. These are connections. These are people who may have been where you're going and can support you where you're going to go. So be intentional about who is in your circle. It's people say, it's about the company you keep. And sometimes that's a reflection of you. So be intentional that they're a reflection of you and you're a reflection of them. You need different people for different things. So think about how you bring in mentors, peers, whatever it is that you feel like you need in and on your journey. We mentioned some of this in episode 7 of season 1 around the types of people that you can have in your community. And just as with faith practices or resiliency practices, don't wait until you need it to develop it. Be proactive. So have your people in place, even if it's only 1 or 2 people that you feel like you can call on and you can rely on. That can make all the difference in the world. So again, we talk about these 4 key foundations that we feel can really be an inventory for you to reflect on, but also a solid foundation for you to operate from as an entrepreneur and really create that way of success, that support system for you.
I think that, that resiliency, particularly in these faith practices, help to kind of be they're a buoy, in the kind of turbulent waters that you find within the entrepreneurial journey. They help kind of keep us above water level and be able to kind of make our way even through some of the more choppy or turbulent times within our journey. And so I think that's really important. And community, it just makes everything better in terms of thinking about the way in which you don't have to do this alone. That, we make each other better when we have other like-minded folks to help us kind of contribute and to help really cheer us along in the journey of life itself, let alone the entrepreneurial journey. And so I think, those 2 things are really important. And so when you put those 4 things together, mindset, your gifts, your resiliency, and community, those are really 4 solid foundational blocks when you think about your entrepreneurial journey. So what I'd like to do is kind of now move you into practical next steps. And what I want to do is give you, maybe take 10 minutes or so for you to really kind of gain clarity about these 4 foundational building blocks of your own entrepreneurial journey. So, if you are a place where you can pull out a piece of paper and a pen in a quiet space where if you're driving, you can return back to this and use this as a moment to kind of reflect on these 4 building blocks. I want to just ask you 4 questions around these particular foundations as a way of kind of getting you started and really getting your own mind thinking about what you do, what you need, and what you may actually practice as you move forward. So the first one is about mindset. Take just a moment to just find a moment to be present to this question. What mindset do you need to position yourself for success? Trust the first thing that comes up for you. Be attentive to that and go with it. As it pertains to your gifts, I want to ask you this. What are 2 or 3 gifts you possess that you bring to your community or your tribe of fellow entrepreneurs building businesses for good? And now, what I'd like to ask you is what practices for resiliency do you need to cultivate for your own life and journey? And then finally, who are 1 to 3 people in your corner and how do they support you? Our hope is that this will begin a running journal and insight in terms of what you need and how you can actually apply them to your own personal journey, remembering that you are your most valuable player. And the most valuable player, you need to think about your mindset, your gifts, your practices of resiliency, and a community that helps you be the best version of yourself for the businesses that you want to create.
The business that you've been called to build, like we said before, and Stephen has just emphasized it, needs a founder who is well mentally, spiritually, relationally. And so knowing your gifts, staying rooted in some solid practices that you feel called to do, and having people in your corner is a foundation that everything else that you do really gets built on. And that's for your business, but that's also just life in general. So I really hope that you take what you've learned or take what you've heard, and it may not be anything new, but maybe it's something that you just needed to be reminded of, that you take this as an opportunity to really do that deeper reflection and to make the changes that need to be made for your foundation to be more solid. And if you're tuning in and you've already started a business and you're refining, building, and you're really taking it to the next level, not only do you have what we've shared with you today, but we also invite you to apply to join our Duke at X Mastermind Retreat, which will be here in the city of Atlanta, where Stephen and I are. And this is really a city where entrepreneurs really thrive in. You need a community that sees you. We've got it here. If you're busy in the entrepreneurial grind and need a moment to just be present, and the ways we've called you to be present in this podcast episode or other episodes. We'll also do that during the retreat. And if you don't feel confident in your sales, your storytelling, or your marketing systems, the retreat will dive into that. So you can learn more at dogoodx.org. And join us next time where we will hear from someone who will also really invite you to slow down, tune in, and show up more fully for yourself and for your business. We hope that you continue to journey with us in this season 3 that we are so excited about. But until next time, be well and do good.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.